What's up, guys? As you come in the chat, we live, and we live on a Wednesday. 3/19/2025. Wednesday. What up, though? As you come in the chat, say what's up. Say where you watching from. We live on a Wednesday. Live on a Wednesday. What y'all been up to today? Y'all went to work or what? No, y'all ain't go to work. Stop lying. I went to work, but I don't know if some of y'all went to work. You know why I went to work? Because I still got to. That's the only reason why. No, that's not the only reason why. Of course, because of my family and all that other good stuff. But it really is because I got to. So what's up, guys? Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. We on the corner. What's up? Say what's up in the chat as you come in. Do me a favor, guys, and hit that like button. It does a ton for me and for the channel. So just hit that like button as you come in. I mean, I'll remind y'all 100 times. Really 115. I don't care. But, you know, sometimes I just forget because I am pretty into my commentary when I start doing it. But hit that like button for me. Don't be petty. See, I'm going to have to start saying, like, we got to tell people in New York, we be telling people not to be petty. I'm going to have to start telling y'all not to be petty. Because it's petty to watch the video and chill on the corner with me. But that you don't want to hit the like button. Shout out to Coach Van, LFR family. Love that channel. And like he said, it's free. So why y'all be tripping? Just hit the like button. So what's up, guys? March 19th, again, 2025. That's like the third or fourth time I say the date, but some of y'all don't even know the date today. Some of y'all don't even know. Y'all just not honest. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV Live, guys. So let me read to you what is on the menu for today. What we digesting. Steak, mashed potatoes, or are we at Applebee's? Or are we at KFC? Let's see. I think today we got Jake Tapper on the menu today. What he's talking about, showing the Democrats' favorability at an all-time low. That's going to be fun. Trump describes phone call with Zelensky as very good. So that's promising and hopeful. I've seen some things in the news. It seems like Putin seems to be behaving as well, so that's a good thing. We got some Pierre Poliviere from Canada. Shout out to Pierre, the conservative in Canada. He has a video that says this is no surprise. And it's a pretty interesting video. I literally don't even want to spoil it because it's so good. But some of you guys don't really follow Canadian politics, so you might not even know who Pierre is. But I love the way he's coming at it because he's saying, you know, it's no surprise that Donald Trump wants Canada to be weak. I love it. Like, Pierre's about that life. Like, he's not scared. Say what's up in the chat, guys. Do me a favor and hit that like button for me. Thanks for stopping by. And we got Jordan Peterson interviewing James Basil on Trump's behavior. And James Basil had a lot to say about that. He has him as Jim here, but his first name is actually James. And in case you guys don't know who he is, he's a pretty famous guy. I'll run that down when we get to the video. But James says Trump's behavior is unpresidential, unprovoked, unkind, and almost certainly illegal. I was like, classic James Basili. And we have first up is Elon Musk laments deranged Democrats' attack on Tesla plants. In case you guys don't know what the word lament means, it is a book in the Bible, a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations. And lament a sorrow, a cryful sorrow, right? Elon's sad, man, because people been messing with Tesla. And I don't know what's wrong with people. UWU. Is that your... I like the screen name. I mean, I see you have some accents over it. What up, though? I see that. Yo, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Guys, hit that like button for me while you're in the chat. It's free. It takes a second. Don't be petty. Don't be petty. So first up, guys, we are going to start out with Sean Hannity talking to Elon Musk. But in the meantime, welcome to Cozy Corner TV, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Karen Smith. Call me Q. And we are on the corner. So Sean Hannity's talking to Elon Musk about Democrats trashing Tesla plants. This is not a new thing. We know they've been doing this the last couple of weeks. They're throwing bombs through windows. They're blowing up cars. They're being petty. They're mad at Elon. He's, like I said, he's the most hated person in America right now. So let's see what Sean Hannity and Elon talk about here.
As I said in my opening monologue earlier today, SpaceX successfully completed its rescue of 2 astronauts who spent 9 months stranded in space. They were only supposed to be there 8 days. SpaceX founder, chief engineer, CEO Elon Musk, he now joins us for an exclusive interview. Elon, first of all, what a triumph to the human spirit, human ingenuity, engineering. First of all, on behalf of, I know many people in this audience, thank you for what you did for those astronauts today. How are you feeling, throughout the day? I mean, I know I felt butterflies in my stomach and I rarely feel them.
Well, I'm actually usually a little nervous about these returns because there's always some risk that something could go wrong. But thanks to the excellent work of the SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home. And so congratulations.
Yeah, shout out to Elon for getting the astronauts home.
And a huge note of appreciation to President Trump for prioritizing and expediting their return.
You have been the chief.
Sorry about the camera, guys. I had to fix the angle. So in case you guys don't know who the missing astronauts are, I believe the one's name is Suni and is Butch, I believe. I'll double check that, but I believe it's Suni and Butch. And their 28-day trip turned into a 286-day trip. So apparently they just returned to Earth today. Elon mentioned that he had tried previously with the Biden administration to actually get them back, but it was refused because it wasn't in the budget. Imagine that, with all the things we're hearing about budgets. But he tried to get them back sooner. The Biden administration kind of declined it, was like, no, we're not going to do that right now. We don't have the money. So their 28-day trip turned into an almost year trip, and now they are back.
Chief engineer of SpaceX and remain the chief engineer of SpaceX. It is the first private company to ever make it to orbit. Walk us through the beginnings of that. It is not, it's something that nobody else has been able to accomplish.
Well, it's quite a long story. And there are some books that have been written about it. But in the beginning, we didn't actually know anything about rockets. So our first 3 missions failed, actually, of our Falcon 1 rocket. And we almost ran out of money and just barely made it with the 4th launch. If the 4th launch of Falcon 1 had not succeeded, we would have failed as a company. So we just barely made it. So I have to say that I was not a very good chief engineer in the beginning, but I did learn over time. And I think we've gotten, at this point, to where the vehicle is very reliable, and we're going to be able to take astronauts to Mars. In fact, we want to take anyone who goes to Mars and ultimately build a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. That is the long-term goal of the company.
God, this guy's insane. He wants to take people to Mars. Anyone who wants to go to Mars, and he wants to basically create a civilization there. But it's funny because so many people don't like Elon's personality, so they're always like, "Oh, Elon's so stiff. He sucks. I hate this guy." And I guess it's subjective because it's how you take people, it's how they land on you. And most people say Elon is not humble, but I think it's extremely humble what he just said. And you guys, let me know in the chat if you can actually hear the volume, because one of my speakers is acting up right now. But he actually said the first 3 times that he attempted to design or do anything, it failed, especially a launch. He said, so in the very beginning, I actually wasn't a very good chief engineer, but over time, I got better. So it's really about how people land on you, because some people could say, well, I don't care, I hate him, he's still not humble. But I think that's pretty humble of him to actually admit that. I mean, this is one of the richest men in the world, and he's just kind of like, yeah, at first I sucked, but with time, I got better with it.
I mean, that is a very bold vision. How long do you think that might take SpaceX to be able to accomplish?
I think we can do it in 20 to 30 years.
Mm-hmm. So really, a lifetime.
I should say,
if God blesses me with a longer life than I deserve, right? I could always hope. I would love to be able to see that. That would be amazing. I happen to have a telescope, and I love to look at the stars in the sky and the planets, and I am amazed at the majesty of all of creation and the idea that we even look at the moon and we can go there and come back, or a space station, or you launching the hundreds of satellites you have. I want to ask you this question, if I may, and it's, you know, every aspect of this rescue had challenges and danger. The launch, we start there. Then the rocket landing. I mean, we showed. I couldn't believe you were able to land the rocket that fell off perfectly where you wanted it to land. The docking video when they actually connected and got onto the space station. Then the taking off earlier today was a 17-hour trip, leading to the splashdown that all of America watched today. Every single aspect of that has danger and complications. Walk us through the dangers of each phase.
Well, on the ascent phase, there's always some chance that either the first or second stage will blow up. In fact, I find it's actually remarkable when you see a rocket. I mean, when I see the rocket, I see a list of all the things that are wrong, all of the ways that it could go wrong and potentially fail. So you have a first stage failure, a second stage failure, stage separation failure. The Dragon could fail to separate from the rocket. The trunk could fail to separate from Dragon. There could be an engine failure on the spacecraft itself. When it's coming back, it's coming in so fast, it's a blazing meteor. And if anything happens to the heat shield, the whole craft is going to disintegrate.
Yep.
So it's remarkable that humans can actually go all the way to orbit and come back from orbit, given the immense amounts of energy that is required to get to orbit and the amount of energy that must be dissipated upon return. And then the parachutes have to open, that all has to work. Now, long term, we're going to be doing, not long term, this year, in fact, we're launching the Starship rocket, which I recommend maybe doing a piece on, because that is truly a revolutionary rocket. Starship is the first rocket that has the potential to make life multiplanetary, to make us a multi-planet civilization for the first time in the history of Earth. And that's truly profound.
What was amazing,
it has the ability to make us the first multi-planet civilization. Like, this guy is literally crazy. Like, in a great way. I feel like the way his mind works. So I know a lot of people who sometimes they challenge me on this, because they're like, some of the things Elon Musk wants to do, you know, like, God doesn't want him to do that. And I'm like, well, how about you just leave that up to God? The man has a brilliant mind. At the end of the day, he wants to send people to Mars. So what do you guys think about this multi-planet civilization? You guys up for that? Like, you think that's dope? I mean, chat, y'all trying to live on Mars? Like, some of y'all would go to Mars? I don't think I would go. I think I'm just good where the Lord put me at first. I mean, I know some people will go, but I don't think I'm about that life, if I'm honest. Yes, I've been in the Marine Corps and I did a lot of stuff, but I don't think I'm about the Mars life.
and I studied a lot of this because of my need to cover it. At one point, going 17,000 miles per hour, going through 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. You have this thermal protection system. Now, we do know that the Boeing Starliner, you know, we know that it had problems. So these problems that you talk about, we can't take them for granted or get complacent. Explain how you get up to 17,000 miles per hour. How do you withstand 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit and the thermal protection system that protects that capsule? And then the launch, obviously, of the parachutes, which were critical to slow it down for its splashdown.
Perhaps we should do a longer segment, because I'd be happy to explain it in detail. I'll do the 2-minute version here.
Yeah. Okay.
The Falcon 9 rocket takes off with 1.7 million pounds of thrust. So you can imagine something that has enough thrust to lift an office building off its foundations.
Yeah.
And it gets to orbit. It gets to roughly 17,000 miles an hour in 9 minutes. So from 0 to 17,000 miles an hour in 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
And then it's just when it comes back, you've got that heat shield that's going to dissipate that energy. Like I said, you're coming in like a blazing meteor, and hardly anything can survive that heat. And if the heat shield fails, you just get vaporized immediately. So it's
Oh,
we're
yeah.
really testing the very edge
Fried human.
of human ability here, the very edge of material science, and it's kind of amazing that humans can do this at all. But hopefully this gives, hopefully for people out there, this is a moment of optimism about the future, a moment of excitement about the future, and it portends great things for America and humanity in space.
I'm only going to ask you one political question, just for clarification purposes only. I don't think this should really be a political night. I think this is,
Right.
a moment where the country should celebrate the fact that you were able to rescue them, that it happened successfully in spite of the difficulty, the challenges, and the danger. But I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts sooner to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I heard somebody earlier today say, in fact, that didn't happen when I believe it did.
Mm-hmm.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Rejected for political reasons by the Biden administration. So Elon says 8 days. I saw something that said 28, but either way, it's totally screwed. So they were only supposed to be there for 8 days and they stayed there for 286. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yo, W chat, say what's up in the chat. Hit that like button. Say where you watching from. Don't be petty, chat. Hit the like button. Don't be petty.
Yeah. I followed this from the very beginning. Did America and the world make a mistake by slowing down, going to the moon and to other planets? Was that a mistake on our part? I mean, don't we have so many scientific and innovative breakthroughs every time we go?
Well, I think we'll have tremendous breakthroughs when we establish a city or a base and then a city on Mars, because we'll have to overcome so many challenges that it'll serve as a forcing function for the development of new technologies that will have tremendous benefits to people on Earth.
Let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the health issues that the astronauts will face. They only trained for an 8-day mission, but there are certainly things involved with returning to gravity, adjusting to gravity, nauseousness, but then it gets a little bit more serious, a variety of other health problems. Bones become about 1% less dense for every month that they are in space. That could lead to issues like osteoporosis or bone fracture, etc. Astronauts grow in space because the spinal column expands. There was one astronaut, Scott Kelly, he became 2 inches taller, and others then, when it contracts when you come back, then they have some back issues. They have vision issues because fluids in the eye shift upward to the head. You can explain baby feet if you want. They will.
All of this sounds like a lawsuit to me. I would sue the. Woo. I mean, I would pray about it, but I would sue the White House. That all sounds like a lawsuit to me.
We'll have some significant health issues that they're going to be facing, but they'll be okay.
The normal amount of time that astronauts are supposed to be in zero G is about 3 months, and then really at the most about 6 months. That's sort of the normal rotation, and they were up there for almost 10 months. So that's really going beyond what is healthy or good. So it's a good thing that thanks to the support of President Trump, we're able to bring them back, because really things get just a lot worse if they stay in zero G for past a year or more.
Yeah, it gets hard.
What you were able to accomplish today really is just fascinates me. I'm interested in every aspect of it. I think it was pretty public that I bought one of your Teslas. I don't like the way that people, and by the way, it's like the greatest car ever invented. It really is, and I'm not just saying that. It's self-driving. It's got 1,000 horsepower. It goes from 0 to 60 in 0.2 seconds.
Which
and
is
it's
ridiculous.
supposed to-
2 seconds.
I'm like, it's 2 seconds.
No, I'm sorry, not 0. It goes in 2
Yeah, which
seconds.
is ridiculous.
2.0 seconds.
At that point, I think it would kill you basically. But
That's true.
it's pretty fast, that's for sure. It's faster than any Ferrari, for example. Yeah.
No, I watched it beat my
Slight
Z06.
flex. It's faster than any
No,
Ferrari.
it's not. I watched the S-Plaid beat it. You're into robotics, AI. You are working with Neuralink so the blind can see and people with spinal cord injuries may one day walk. You help people in North Carolina. You help people in California when they have no communications. And I watch all of this and I have to ask, why? Why do I see people like, I woke up this morning and saw that Teslas were put ablaze in one of your dealerships in Vegas. I've seen this happen all over the country. Bullets are being fired, charging stations are put ablaze, Teslas are being put ablaze. You have experienced assassination, threats of assassination for you and your family. What have you done that warrants this? Because I see nothing that you have done except help our country.
Come on, let's say it all together. He's messing with the Democrats' money. That's why that's what's happening to him. That's why, Sean, he's messing with the rich white liberals' money. And they're pissed off. I think Elon thought because he was light-skinned, they wasn't going to come after him. Oh, yeah, they mad, Elon. Like, if you're not, you Canadian, bro, you're not white. Like, they're coming for you, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really come as quite a shock to me that there's this level of really hatred and violence from the left. I always thought the left, Democrats were supposed to be the party of empathy, the party of caring.
Yeah, right.
And yet they're burning down cars, they're firebombing dealerships, they're firing bullets into dealerships, they're just, smashing up Teslas. Tesla is a peaceful company. We've never done anything harmful. I've never done anything harmful. I've only done productive things. So
Elon, everyone who voted for Trump appreciates what you're doing. Everyone who voted for Kamala wants to kill you. I don't know how else to tell you this, Elon. I don't know how else to tell you this. You're messing with the Democrats' money. Now, I'm the one breaking the news to him because apparently Elon doesn't know. He says that I thought the Democrats were the party of empathy and caring. And I'm like, who told him this? Does he think this because of the 1960s? Who told him this? If he just did his research on the Democrats, he would know better than that.
Oh, I think we just have a deranged, there's some kind of mental illness thing going on here. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and I think there are larger forces at work as well. I mean, I don't know who's funding it and who's coordinating it, because this is
the devil.
This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
The devil's funding it. The devil's coordinating it. This is why.
I'll tweet it out and I'll put it on the screen. The level of violence is.
You guys are not going to agree with this. Is this not the reason why over 400,000 kids could go missing under Joe Biden's administration and he hasn't been? Why hasn't he been indicted? Or why hasn't he been in trouble? I mean, they were able to get Trump in trouble, so why isn't Joe Biden even being questioned about all of these children missing? I mean, the Democrats. Okay, I'm not going to say it, y'all. I'm gonna behave today.
Is insane. It is deeply wrong. Tesla just makes.
Let me read this for you guys because it might be backwards. It says, this level of violence is insane and deeply wrong. Tesla just makes electric cars and has done nothing to deserve these evil attacks.
Electric cars and has done nothing to deserve these evil attacks. You just rescued 2 astronauts that have been in space for 286 days. They were only supposed to be there 8. You help the people in North Carolina, Tennessee, California. You have, I think, the most creative and innovative car on the market. You created Starlink for communications that's used by hundreds of countries. You're working on helping the blind see and all of these other things. Is it really come down to the basic, you're aligned with President Donald Trump, who also is a friend of mine, and that you have identified well over $100 billion in waste, fraud, abuse that our federal government never should have been spending? Is that what it comes down to?
Yes, everybody in the chat say yes. That's what it comes down to. That's exactly what it comes down to. This is why mainstream media spins the whole rhetoric that Elon Musk is running the White House. Elon Musk is not running the White House. He wasn't even voted in by the Senate. So he can't be running the White House. But this is why they don't like him. The people who did not want Donald Trump to win, they can't stand his cabinet. I mean, Matt Gaetz didn't make it in, and I say rightfully so. I was a little worried there. But I mean, Pete Heck said he was coming under just as much fire as most of them. Like, yes, this is exactly the reason why this is happening to him, because he's associated with Donald Trump, and he's messing with the money that the Democrats were using to commit certain crimes that they're committing. Okay, now, so for those of you who are not used to my channel, no, I don't hate Democrats, so save it in the chat. It's not that. I voted Democrat, I voted Republican. I tell people, do not ask me what I am registered as, because I do what I want to do. I serve the country. I served the Marine Corps for 12 years. So I can vote for whoever I want to vote for. Now, my political stance changed when I joined the Marine Corps, because any service member will tell you this. We get paid very differently when a Republican is in office than we do when a Democrat is in office. So sometimes our political views sway when we join the military, simply because of pay and sometimes lack of understanding. Either way, I've never seen so much rhetoric being spun against someone who's not a traditional politician until Donald Trump. Jimmy Carter wasn't your traditional politician, but he didn't face half the things that Donald Trump did. Now, some of that is because Jimmy Carter wasn't as close to the type of president that Donald Trump is. We know President Trump has been considered to be compared to Andrew Jackson, who was a very controversial president, who came out and pushed all of these bills and laws and EOs just like President Trump is doing, and then he got all these Supreme Court cases. So this is who Donald Trump is being compared to. So yes, you have people on the left, and I don't think it's the whole left. I think it's the extreme leftists that can't stand Donald Trump and want to ruin the country. Yes, I do believe in things like that and things like the deep state, and if you don't like it, my views aren't changing. But either way, it's a shame to see this man go through this, regardless of how evil you think Elon is. If you don't think something's up, just because he's been going through waste, fraud, and all of this is happening, this should tell you, like, what is going on in the government that people literally want to kill this man, other than he's messing with the money of the Democrats.
Yeah, it turns out when you take away people's, the money they're receiving fraudulently, they get very upset.
Yeah, no cap.
They basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud. And they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government. And, well, I guess they're bad people. Bad people will do bad things.
Well, I know that overall, financially, in the end, yes, they can hurt you, but the people that they'll end up hurting are the people that work in your dealerships that may risk losing their job. The people that they may end up hurting are the people that work on the line and build the Teslas. They're going to be the ones hurt. And that to me is despicable on their part, just because they might have a political difference or perceived political difference.
It's petty.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is pretty important. The average American makes $66,000 a year. We're close to $40,000 in debt. You said to me in our last interview, we won't have a country unless we fix it now. Can you explain why this is so important that we identify all this waste?
Yes, the government the government waste and fraud is so high that it's causing a $2 trillion annual deficit. So that's $2,000 billion of waste and fraud that's happening. And the cost of our debt has gotten so high that just the interest payments on the debt exceed the entire military budget. And it was just growing out of control. So the country was going bankrupt. It's just, country is no different from a person. If a country overspends and doesn't spend wisely, just like a person, a country will go bankrupt. So the reason I'm here is because I'm very worried about America going bankrupt due to the corruption and waste. And if we're going to do something about it, the ship of America is going to sink, and we're all on that ship. And this may be a message to, people out there who have, are wealthy, have a lot of means, or control companies. It's like, just remember, we're all on ship America here.
Mm-hmm.
If your company's not going to exist if the ship of America sinks.
Say it for the people in the back,
do everything we
Elon.
possibly can to ensure that America is strong for far into the future.
And for
We're all
doing
sunk.
that, we're all sunk. And for doing that, you should not have your company be a victim of domestic terrorism. If I may, one last question. When I interviewed you and President Trump together, one of the questions I asked both of you was, are you aware that there are groups that want to separate you, groups that would like to divide you, groups that would like to see you not work together? I feel it's stronger than it's ever been. Do you get the same sense?
I think they're getting desperate because, the reason we're seeing this extreme amount of hatred and violence is because we're actually succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste. If we weren't succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste, they wouldn't care.
Nope.
But we are succeeding. Without President Trump, this would be impossible. So I'd just like to say, it's only possible with this president. And we've got this narrow window of opportunity with a House, Senate, and a popular vote, and really we're just implementing the will of the people. And we've got this window where we can finally take corrective action, we can fix the government, fix the country, and create a great future. And again, it's only possible because of President Trump. I can't say enough good things about him.
I'm kind of supportive too. I'm pretty well known for my support.
Yeah.
As you
good
might
reason.
know, but for good reason, and for all the reasons you're saying. I want to save our country. We can't rob from our kids and grandkids, and we can't put all that down on them.
Yeah, no kidding.
None of us will have any business opportunities because there won't be any money, there won't be any freedom, there won't be an economy. Thank you for what you did today. I know I speak for a lot of people when I say that. And on the other side of it, your company being a victim of domestic terrorism, I can't say that I'm sorry enough. We need to get these people that are responsible for this, and you should not have to live through that. Your workers should not have to live through that. Your company and this country should not have to live through that.
Absolutely.
And I hope we get to the bottom of it.
Thank you.
And by the way, I'm excited about my S-Plaid. It's the best car I've ever driven.
It's a great car. It's what I drive actually every day. It's a great car.
Is that right?
I kind of made the car that I wanted to drive, so that's why I like it. And yeah, that's.
Well,
I would think most people
Hannity.com.
would
You
do
can go
that.
take a look. We
All right.
appreciate you being with us. Elon Musk, thank you, and congratulations, and thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
So I'm dying to know. Why people think this is okay. As someone who's actually served and fought for the country, if you ask me, well, if I'm a part of the opposite political party and I feel upset, that this administration is in office and they're slashing, cutting. I'm tired of seeing Elon with his chainsaw. So I'm gonna go get some justice. And I'm gonna go mess up some Tesla dealerships. Q, what would you call that person? A domestic terrorist. That is literally ridiculous. Like, why would you do this? And this is what I'm talking about for just opposite political views. So a lot of the times I'm going head to head with people who look like me, right? Because they might not understand politics, or politics is scary for them, or they're like, Q, I just don't want to get in that pool. But if you don't understand it, that's fine. I don't think you should just criticize the little bit that you do understand. I think you should do more research before you try to criticize, because then you end up on the wrong side of the pond. You know how many times I had people either come, have a conversation with me, try to be in my chat, and they're like, oh my God, like, why would you even care about the Republican Party? Why wouldn't you vote for a Democrat? What are you, insane? What do you think, I don't have a brain? If the presidential candidate for the Democrat is good and he aligns with my morals and ethics, then I have no problem voting for that person. If the Republican presidential candidate is good and they align with my morals and ethics, then guess what? I have no problem voting for that person. If the independent, let's talk about how the independent RFK had more votes than Kamala Harris, but she ends up being the one that's running. I'm going to vote for the best candidate, which we all should. And this is why I say my channel will be here to exist, because I want people to go to the polls not ignorant. I'm surrounded around enough people that don't know anything about these people running. They can't tell you who their local representative is, and they want to criticize Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They don't even know what an executive order is. They've never watched the Senate hearing. And it's like, come on, guys, give me a break. Instead of criticizing the little bit that you do know, you go study, go figure it out. Go do your research. There's plenty of American history out there, and then you'll see. You'll see. You know how many times I've asked somebody, so could you tell me the first African American that did make it into the Senate, what party were they on? Well, they were a Democrat. No, they were not a Democrat. They were actually a Republican from the state of South Carolina. But I've literally had different people that look like me, and because I'm a mixed person, so whether they're Spanish, whether they're black, right, whether they're Native American, and they're like, well, the first black person that made it in the Senate, they had to be a Democrat, right? That's why the 1960s, go do your research. No, they weren't a Democrat. With that being said, switching gears, we're moving over to Jordan Peterson. We love Jordan Peterson on this channel. He has an interview with James Basil is his first name. And in case you guys are like, who is this person? I know Jordan Peterson, but I don't know James. James is a very wealthy Canadian. And he is one of the co-founders of BlackBerry. So if you guys know the movie BlackBerry, you would find the character that's acting as James in that movie. Pretty prominent guy in Canada. And him and Jordan Peterson are having a conversation about America's president's behavior. Now, I think this was a very interesting conversation. The title says Trump's behavior is unpresidential, unprovoked, unkind, and almost certainly illegal. I thought James was a little harsh here on President Trump, but I get it. I've said this time and time again. A lot of people who aren't from our country don't understand what our president is doing. Some of you guys are going to be like, well, Q, I live in the country and I don't know what he's doing. But you probably didn't vote for him if that's the case. But people who did put him in there, they know what he's doing because they asked for him to do it. Now, are they going to agree with every single thing President Trump does? That's crazy. When do we agree with everything anyone does? Even if it's someone who we love, we don't. So no, like, has there been things that President Trump has done that has drove me up the wall? Of course. But there have been things that other presidents have done, and I felt the exact same way. So we're going to see what James has to say about our president's behavior and how Jordan Peterson kind of commentates on this as they go about.
Okay, so detail out for me and for the Canadians and everyone who's listening, what do you think exactly, what the hell is Trump up to? I mean, he's put a knot in Canadians' tail, and the upside of that is that for the first time, certainly in the Trudeau era, even the Liberals are pretending that they're patriots, and that Canada has a self-evident reason for existing, which is something that Trudeau has formally denied for the whole bulk of his political career, that we're a post-national state with no real identity, that our strength was our diversity, that leg one, where we had some advantage, was also an untenable basis for movement into the future, that we're going to enter into a green economy that was going to magically make us rich. And one of the things you're pointing out is, good, there is a virtualized economy, but we don't own any of it. So, and and I looked at Carney's book recently, Values, and he talks about this magical economy, which I suppose, at least in part, is a knowledge economy that's somehow going to emerge if we leave 80% of our fossil fuels to the ground. But you might say that it's a little short on detailed plan. So, okay, so what's Trump exactly? What do you think Trump is up to?
So, who they're talking about currently was Justin Trudeau. If you guys don't know who Justin Trudeau is, he's the former Prime Minister of Canada. He just left office, and now James Carney is in there, and they are both from the Liberal Party. It's no secret that Jordan Peterson has never been a big fan of Trudeau. There's a lot of commentary that Jordan Peterson has done about Justin Trudeau on YouTube. He doesn't seem to be a big fan of Carney either. But it seems like Pierre Poliviere, he does like him, and I'm in favor of Pierre. I've talked about him a couple times on the channel. I think that Canada is leaning towards wanting some conservatism. There's some desire there, and a couple of times I've said it seems like they've been through some of the things that America has gone through, and now they're kind of like, we went out, of this, let's just call it a liberal whirlwind, right? Maybe it's gone a little bit too far left. So Canada is probably the country that's my second most watched country on my channel, maybe third. Sometimes they're in competition with Germany. So I follow a lot of like Canadian politics as best as I can, and when I can post something about Jordan Peterson or Justin Trudeau when he was prime minister, I'm trying to keep up with Carney now, but it looks like their elections are going to happen soon. I'm hoping that my Canadian friends do go the conservative way, because I'm not going to lie, I like Pierre. He has an edge to him. He has an edge, and a lot of people would probably say, well, why are you in support of Pierre, when he says some of the things he says about Trump? It's kind of like this. Even though I've been a Lakers fan since I was a young child, young kid, I'm talking since, so I'm not that old. So if some of you guys are older on this chat and you're thinking about somebody who's older than me, I'm probably not going to say that name. But I've been a Lakers fan since Rick Fox was on there. And if you guys don't know who Rick Fox is, he's basically a television personality, but he played basketball for a good amount of time. When it was him and Derek Fisher on the squad, I love the Lakers for a long time, but I'm a basketball fanatic, so I just like the game of basketball. And at any time, if my team is not playing in the playoffs or the championship, I'm always going to go for the underdog, because I just love the game. I love the game in general. I like Pierre because he stands up to President Trump. He's not afraid of him. He's not moved by him. He even though, Canada has always been close allies with the U.S., he's open-minded enough to say, listen, if we have to go another route, I'm willing to go another route. We could say from a political standpoint, Trump took us another route because he's not your traditional presidential candidate, right? So I like Pierre Poliviere because of that. And I'm hoping that when Canada does get a chance to vote, I'm hoping he does make it in. Unless there's a better candidate that I don't know about. If I have any Canadians in the chat, you guys let me know. But right now, I'm rooting for Pierre for you guys.
I'm trying to spend most of my time with you today characterizing what's going on.
Yeah.
I've only said one normative thing to date, so far in this, which was my belief in capitalism in a liberal democracy as the best way for human flourishing. And I'm going to give you what I plan to be only the second normative thing that I plan to say today. That I think that Trump's behavior is unpresidential. It's unprovoked, it's unkind, it's almost certainly illegal, though hard to enforce.
Yeah, which matters.
But in the characterization, I'm also going to say that I think he miscalculated, and it's actually been unwise and is counterproductive to America's interests, and actually in Canada's interests if we seize it. So I think this is a fascinating moment, and to sort of, for Canada, to quote the famous Yogi Berra, when you reach a fork in the road, you got to take it.
Right.
And so Trump sees Mexico as just a commodified labor to lowest cost for blue collar. Canada's commodified labor at white collar workers, and it's all going to be subsidized, and so I actually think the appeasement, there's a little bit of benefit in appeasement and diplomacy, because you inform the U.S. that he may have to dial a few things back a little bit because it's counter to Americans' interests, not because he's compassionate to Canada economically or socially or security-wise, but I think he's like, he said what he is. He believes that they are the empire, that you must pay a tax for the privilege of participating with the empire, interrelated with the empire. He wants to rename the Internal Revenue Service the External Revenue Service, and that people's taxes domestically can go down in the U.S. and that it's paid for through tariffs. And in economics, in prosperity, in a global system, the number one objective is to improve your terms of trade. And terms of trade is really simple. That it's the ratio of the price of what you sell to what you buy. And if you get a better price for what you sell, your terms of trade go up. If you pay more for something that you buy, your terms of trade go down. And that's the whole game, is terms of trade.
Yeah.
And we thought that
That's a good
it was about comparative advantage, get out of the way. And America realized that it's about inserting the rent stuff where you get really high rents, which means that drives up your GDP per capita through higher terms of trade.
Mm-hmm.
And so their thinking is that I'm going to make you pay to come in here. That's going to enhance the prices we get, and we believe that's going to deflate your currency because it makes you, and deflation of a currency is like a pay decrease, or
It buys less.
and you sell it for less too.
Right.
So that worsens your terms of trade, which benefits America's terms of trade. So they're trying to shift the structure of the global economic system where they become effectively aristocratic and everyone else is some lower economic status.
Okay, so to be fair to James, I get it. Like, he's not, President Trump is not his president. So I personally feel like right now he has a very authoritative, superior view of Trump, right? Which isn't horrible, but he's really coming at it from what I feel like is like kind of like a dictator like point of view. And really what it is that I said, I really wish more countries would be understanding, but they're not going to be, because it's like Marco Rubio said, and it's like Elon Musk has said, like, people don't want the fraud, the waste. They don't want it to stop, including the other countries. There's a lot of other countries that were benefiting from the way we were dealing with trade. And if you don't understand trade, this is why, tariffs and things like that can make you angry. But if you did understand a little bit of it, and those of you guys that do, you should share it with people who don't understand it so they can stop getting so angry. Because there are plenty of countries that have way higher tariffs on us than 25%. I don't think you guys know this, but there are countries that actually have 700, 500, 200% tariffs on the United States, and they're getting mad and putting retaliatory tariffs on us because President Trump is giving them 25%. Now, if you really understood this, then you would understand, like, oh, okay, I see why President Trump is trying to change things, right? I'm not saying that if you didn't vote for him, I'm not trying to change your point of view, and I'm not telling you to like him. I'm just saying that if you don't understand something, this is why you can get emotional and upset about it, and just be like, oh my God, I'm so mad I voted for Trump. Like, everything didn't go down the next day. It wouldn't have happened like that if a Democrat won the election. Like, let's just be honest here. At the end of the day, these countries are putting, I think India is probably our most expensive country. I know President Trump has said something about Japan, but it depends on the product and what exactly it is. But there are countries that have wicked tariffs on us. I'm talking about when I literally, and the White House press secretary went over this, Caroline Levitt. So these are things that those of you guys who are not that into politics, and maybe you just watch me because, like, I started watching people like Brandon Tatum and Candace Owens to get deeper knowledge. That's why you're doing it. But you really should look this kind of stuff up, because there are countries that are literally slaughtering us when it does come to tariffs. Now, I'm not saying everything President Trump is doing is great, but what I am saying is that you can't possibly understand how trade or tariffs work if you're getting upset that he's putting 25% on the country and they already have 150% on us. And then they turn around and put a retaliatory 25%. So now their tariff on us is really 175%, while President Trump only gave them 25% because they're angry. These are the kind of things that we have to understand.
Entity, and that is an economic logic being played out to Mexico and Canada. The tricky part is there's not a lot more blood to get out of the stone that is Mexico. I think there is a legitimate a security thing that they're paying attention to.
With regards to the border?
Yeah, and there's probably a couple little strategic things they want
Yep.
in the economy,
Drugs.
Access to the oil system and owning it and
Sex
so on.
trafficking.
But there's a lot of blood to get from the Canadian prosperity because we're a relatively prosperous and rich country, eroding as we are. There's a lot of gems in there to get. So I think his objective, if you weaken it enough, you go in for the gems and you hold it in a subordinate position.
Okay, now-
because that's the economic logic that is at
Okay.
play here. So
So it's a dominance logic fundamentally.
yeah, it's an economic insecurity, dominance logic.
Okay.
And
But
security,
you
wow.
pointed out that it may well have a paradoxical effect. So let's go into that. I mean, one of the things I've noticed, because I'm very ambivalent about Trump's maneuvers, because, well, he is a bull in
I'm
a china
angry.
shop.
I'm angry about
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I'm
but-
angry about them.
Yeah,
I wake up
clearly.
angry on it because I feel it's wrong on so many levels. So that's my second normative
Yeah.
thing. I'll shed it now.
Yeah.
You be a clinical psychologist, make me feel a little better, and
Well,
and I'm bothered by it.
Well-
and I think it's going to hurt 1 in 4 people. What about the 1 in 4 people that have food insecurity? Like, for goodness sakes, people need food and a home, and now. Really,
Right.
and you're going to erode the whole system, hurt Canada comparatively more, still hurt America, and vulnerable people are going to pay the largest price. Because what? Because that's how the aristocracy works, and let them eat cake. And yeah, as a proud Canadian and somebody that believes in. My dad was an electrician. I mean, these structures, I wouldn't have gone to school. I wouldn't have had this. Yeah, it violates all
Okay,
sense
okay,
of fairness for me. So,
okay,
so
so
that
that-
part of it is
that makes
not
sense, though.
not cool by me. But yeah, we'll go into
Okay,
this
well,
play
two
hand by,
things. I
by
would like
Trump.
to know
Yeah.
partly, for example, why you are a proud Canadian, why you stayed here because you didn't have to. And so, and why you think this country is worth fighting for. And then I also want to know what you think about the fact that tromping around has actually seemed to wake Canadians up a bit to help them understand once again that they do in fact have a country,
Yeah.
that it might be worth preserving, that we should pay attention not only to the resource economy, which we've done everything to scuttle, but that we should maybe wake up with regard to, well, these more sophisticated issues that you've been
Yeah.
bringing to light. Okay, so let's start with your feelings about Canada. I mean,
Well,
You know, so to James' defense, I can at least appreciate that he goes on record because we can see the emotionalism. So I can appreciate that he goes on record to say, you know, it violates all fairness to me, right? So he's not saying that, you know, he necessarily feels that everyone's going to feel like Donald Trump is unfair, but he's like, based on my moral and ethical system, anything that I would call fair, Trump is violating it, right? So I'm glad that he at least went on record to say that, because it kind of at least tells where we see some of the emotionalism coming from, which I could understand it because we're experiencing it in the United States as well, right? We got a lot of people on the left, a lot of Democrats, and even, you know, some conservatives who are pretty upset right now.
well, it's a beautiful country. How can you not love the country? I mean, just because I love it doesn't mean I always like it.
yeah,
And those
but you have
different-
chosen to stay here.
Yeah,
to
of
keep
course,
your
of course.
operations.
Yeah, and I double down, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is my team, this is my country, this is my home. Your job, it's giving me so much. And as you said, you know, your obligation is to carry the load you think you can handle.
Yeah.
So you carry the load that you think is yours, that you can bring to bear. And there's beautiful people who volunteer at food banks, who do many wonderful things in this country, healthcare workers who care for vulnerable, and on it goes. And so I
Yeah, well, and you poured your efforts into developing the tech economy in the Waterloo
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
My brother-in-law, who's like a tech maven, he thinks that the graduate engineer graduates from this institute in particular are like world top
Yeah,
rate, and so like
Yeah.
you put your money where your mouth
Yeah,
is, and
it's very
so
rewarding. It's very meaningful. It's a shame to see it sub-optimized, but do you let the bullies and the elite failure of the last 30 years prevail when there are so many good people who are trying to advocate for a better country and a better future? And if I can provide some resources and air cover for them, as opposed to them banning them, well, morally, what do you think is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, and he makes a good point there. You know, he wants to serve his country. He wants to serve his city. And Donald Trump has the same exact outlook. And I think that, you know, Jim should just have just a little bit more respect for that. But I could see where even that could agitate him and he can feel like, you know, someone is calling him disrespectful, which I'm not. I just felt like, you know, he really was coming at President Trump more from a dictatorship. And we have some people in America that might say, well, yeah, I agree with James because that's how I feel about President Trump. But, you know, again, a lack of understanding. President Trump is not his president, you know. And I always say here, like, I get it. If you didn't vote for him, that's fine. If you don't like him, that's fine. But at the same time, at this point, he's everyone's president. He's not the president of the conservative. He's not the president of the liberals, right? He's America's president. So at this point, you look kind of crazy because it's kind of like a football team wishing that their quarterback breaks their leg, or like wishing that their coach, I don't know, doesn't coach them anymore. Like, we got to kind of get this together. And this is why I hate seeing, some of the things I'm seeing on the left. It's a little disappointing. So switching gears a little bit, not so much, but I'm going to jump over to Pierre Poliviere. He is actually a person who is going to be a part of Canada's election, and he is on the conservative side. So we just left Jordan Peterson and Jim Basil, which Jim is more on the liberal side. Pierre is someone who I'm actually rooting for, and I'm hoping that Canada chooses him as their prime minister, unless there is one more candidate who they think is better. And I have heard some talk about that based on some of the information some of my Canadian friends have given me. But nonetheless, like I've said in previous lives, I feel like Canada has a little bit of a desire to lean more conservative lately. I think that they've had a little bit of enough of the liberal whirlwind, let's call it that, and they're kind of wanting some conservatism, some normalcy, let's say that. So I think Pierre's a good guy for the job. So in this clip, this is actually from Pierre's channel himself, and this clip I think is interesting. So this comes from headlines where we see that President Trump has endorsed the liberals, right? Because I just know that that's where this is coming from, because I was already looking at the headlines earlier today, and I'm like, oh boy, like this is going to be interesting. So from Pierre's perspective, his video is titled "This is No Surprise," and that's because from his perspective, he feels like President Trump wants Canada to be weak. He feels like this is primarily the reason why he would endorse the liberals, because as long as Canada stays weak, Canada can't rise, Canada can't be strong. And that's what America wants right now. A lot of countries feel like this, that President Trump is trying to turn us into some sort of empire to the entire world. And I think it's more of an offensive stance than anything, but that's just in my humble opinion. So Pierre's going to talk about what he believes President Trump is up to, and why he would endorse the Liberal Party. So let's take a look.
It's clear that President Trump wants the Liberals in power because they will keep this country weak. After 10 years in power, the Liberals have given us the weakest economy in the G7. They've doubled our housing costs, driven $500 billion to the south, all while Mark Carney was economic advisor to Trudeau, and while Mr. Carney moved his corporate headquarters to New York. Do you know that he moved his headquarters to Trump's hometown 6 days after Trump first threatened to tariff Canada? While these people here were worried about losing their jobs, Mark Carney was busy moving jobs to Trump's hometown. That's exactly the kind of weak, compromised, conflicted leadership that Donald Trump wants, and it's why he endorsed Mark Carney yesterday. What Canadians need, though, is a leader who's tough and firm and stands by his convictions. A leader who will make Canada strong, self-reliant, and stand on its own 2 feet. A leader who will put Canada first.
So it's reasons like that why I like Poliviere. He's honest, he's not afraid. He says what's on his mind, and he means what he says. It's going to be hard with Donald Trump endorsing him. It's going to be hard. I said James earlier, and it's because I was doing some research. Sorry about that, guy. Not Mark Carney. Mark Carney is the new Prime Minister of Canada. He was the one who was sworn in after Justin Trudeau made his exit. So he's the one who's in place currently until they have their elections. And Donald Trump has endorsed him. And I think that it's going to be a little bit of a harder fight for Pierre now, because there are a lot of Canadians that actually do like Donald Trump. So the fact that he endorsed Mark Carney, that might sway some votes, I'm thinking. And that probably, has Pierre pretty furious. And from his perspective, it's like, yeah, of course, if we keep the Liberals in charge, then Canada's weak, because we've been weak, almost the whole time Justin Trudeau has been in charge. And it's no secret that Pierre is like that towards Trudeau. He's literally gotten kicked out of hearings because of it. So I just think that that's interesting. We clearly know President Trump doesn't want the liberals in charge because that's not what America has demonstrated. And President Trump, he doesn't claim himself to be a liberal. But, you know, when Pierre says it like that, it's interesting. It's something to think about. You know, he could be overthinking, but as a leader, you know, he has to be open-minded. He has to be a far out thinker. And this is just one of the stance he's taking. And he's like, I think one of the reasons why he endorsed Mark Carney is because he wants Canada to stay weak. So you guys tell me how you feel about that. You know, it's like I said, I like the guy. I like Pierre a lot because, you know, he's firm, he's blunt, he's straightforward. He says what he means. He's not afraid. I have a lot of respect for him, you know. He's pretty conservative leaning, but like I said, I think Canada wants that. But I just don't know what that looks like now with President Trump endorsing Mark Carney. I think it definitely looks a little bit harder for the Conservative Party for sure. All right, guys, so switching gears a little bit. Face the Nation with 612,000 subscribers. Shout out to you. They covered CBS News. Donald Trump describes phone call with Zelensky as very good. So, it appears Vladimir is behaving, and it appears Putin is behaving, at least as of right now, at least as of right this minute, because with these two, something can happen overnight, as it always does, right? So it seems like the conversation went pretty good, and this is post Oval Office meltdown. So if you guys remember, I did cover that here on the live stream. It was a pretty much wildfire on YouTube when Zelensky came here and he met in the Oval Office with President Trump, and then as the camera zoomed out, we saw VP JD Vance, and they had a conversation, you know. And at first it seemed okay, and you know, it seemed like President Trump was trying to keep things kind of at bay, and then I don't know, it seemed like the millennial and JD Vance came out. Like, shout out to you, JD. I always tell people, hey man, give the millennial some grace. He's a millennial. You know, we tend to pop off a little quick sometimes, and but I'm praying for him, like while he's in the White House, because I'm like, Lord, he's either gonna make our generation look really, really good, or people are gonna hate us when he leaves, right? So I'm praying for JD, but JD chimed in, and you know, he felt like Vladimir was rude. He felt like he was rude, you know, and JD said, listen, you know, I think you ought to be more grateful, you know, and you need to be thanking America and the president. You know, some people didn't like that. They felt like JD came off a little snark and a little prideful, you know, so I get it. So right now, this is post all of that Oval Office meltdown. President Trump says the phone call between him and Volodymyr Zelensky went well. So let's see what CBS News has to say.
All right, the players on the board there behind me, and wrapping up moments ago, another high-stakes phone call with President Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. So the President of the United States calling that call very good in this post on social media.
So this looks like President Trump's ex-post. I'm gonna read it for you guys because my screen might like have flipped it. It says, Donald J. Trump, this is March 19th, 2025. So this is today, I believe, yep. It says, just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. We are very much on track, and I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed. That statement will be put out shortly.
The media is saying negotiations are, quote, very much on track. So the White House and Russia agreeing during a 2-hour call to the following terms. Let's get to what they are. An immediate ceasefire for 30 days on energy and infrastructure. Also,
Okay, so it looks like they have it listed here. It says Russia-Ukraine partial ceasefire terms. Energy and infrastructure ceasefire for 30 days. Begin negotiations on a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea. So begin. So, okay, apparently the Black Sea, there won't be a ceasefire in the Black Sea, but they're calling for a 30-day one for energy and infrastructure. And then it says begin negotiations for a full ceasefire. And then it says Russia and Ukraine to exchange 175 prisoners.
negotiations on a maritime ceasefire out in the Black Sea, negotiations towards a full ceasefire, and a prisoner exchange of 175 people, those people split up in Russia and Ukraine. Mr. Zelensky had this to say about that this morning. Listen.
We hope that the agreements regarding the unconditional ceasefire will be eventually implemented. We hope that America will continue to work and pressure Russia in a way that to implement everything, and we consider the unconditional full ceasefire as one of the initial steps towards peace. And I believe that this year the war can end with a dignified peace. But the security guarantees are definitely needed. Otherwise, Putin will come with the war again. That is his essence.
That is his essence, he says. Well, despite that partial agreement, both sides playing the blame game this morning, and you can see fire raging there. They're both accusing one another of overnight strikes. This video to our monitors shows an oil depot engulfed in flames. Russia blames Ukraine for that. Meanwhile, Ukraine blames Russia for unleashing a drone attack, they say, on a hospital. So a lot to take apart here. CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs joining us. Now, Jennifer, you know, you can't talk about Trump and Zelensky, especially seeing you there on the White House lawn, without referencing that off-the-rails meeting between the two at the White House. What did we learn from Trump's Truth Social post about his call with Zelensky this time?
So, in case you guys are wondering, if you didn't get a chance to check that Oval Office interaction, there was a point in time where J.D. Vance was talking about, you know, peace and good faith and an agreement. And Zelensky chimes in and he, you know, lists some things that Putin has done in the past. And he says, J.D., what type of agreement are you even talking about, right? And Zelensky went into detail about how, you know, this has happened before where we had a ceasefire in place and, you know, Putin honored it for some time or honored a little bit of it. And then he just violated it again, right? So you have some reporters and you have even Zelensky asking, like, what if, you know, Putin doesn't listen and he just violates the ceasefire? And Zelensky said, you know, we had a ceasefire in place. He violated the ceasefire. He killed our people. We were supposed to exchange prisoners. He never gave us our prisoners back. All of this happened in their exchange in the Oval Office. And this is when, like, things got even, you know, more heated. So a reporter asked President Trump, like, what if Putin doesn't honor the ceasefire? And President Trump's response is, let me just say, it's classic President Trump. President Trump is like, what if? He's like, what if a bomb drops on your head? He's like, anything can happen, you know. But I know he was frustrated at that point, and he basically said this. He said he won't violate the ceasefire. The reason why he violated it before with Obama and Joe Biden is because he didn't respect them. He said, Putin respects me, so if I put a ceasefire in place, he's not going to violate the ceasefire. Well, let's hope that it stays that way after Trump leaves office.
Well, it was their very first conversation since that meeting in the Oval that did go off the rails. And there's a couple interesting things that I can point out in the president's post. It's very polished. It has very diplomatic language. It doesn't have some of the president's usual flourishes. It almost reads like it was a statement that the White House prepared ahead of time so that they could pop it out quickly. I'll point out that, you know, they did say it's a very good phone call. We're very much on track. They did note in the statement that it will be Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, very specifically using their titles, saying that they will be the ones that will be giving a further readout. And it said they will give an accurate description of the points discussed. And that could be a reference to the fact that the Russian readout, the readout from the Kremlin that we got yesterday, had some points that contradicted a little bit with the White House, what the White House said happened in that phone call. So the White House put this statement out very quickly, letting reporters know this is our read on things, this is our take on things, we'll give you more soon.
You know, President Zelensky has said often, and he has cited many instances where Russia will agree to certain terms and then they violate the terms, according to Mr. Zelensky. He even seemed to echo that in that statement that we just played, saying it's in the nature of Vladimir Putin to do this. Mm-hmm. As far as the White House goes, how confident are they that these terms will hold?
For now.
I just asked one of my sources that exact question, and I was told cautiously optimistic. They're working very hard to be diplomatic. There's not much trust if any, between President Zelensky and President Putin. And President Zelensky is a very fiery person. He's very passionate about his country and the things that are happening in his country, and his anger is very strong. The Trump White House is working to calm some of that passion, to cool things down, to get to some agreements. The POW exchange was agreed to. That transfer has been made. President Zelensky confirmed that. So there's a lot of effort to try to build a little bit of trust, piece by piece, in a progression, because President Zelensky has been passionate about wanting more sanctions on Russia from the West, given that President Putin didn't agree to the full ceasefire that President Zelensky agreed to in just a week ago. So his point was, hey, he didn't agree to it, we should hit them with more sanctions. And the White House is now saying, let's try to get there, we're working on it.
All right, so let's forecast this out into the coming days and weeks. Big if here, we know that. But if a ceasefire is reached, Zelensky, even Trump's special envoy, Mike Waltz, they both point to step 2, which will be going to a meeting with a team that's so-called the technical team, set to meet in Saudi Arabia next week. What is that technical team? What are their marching orders?
Right, those are the ones that have been talking ahead of some of the big head of states or the principles discussions, and they talk about every single piece, how to implement, how to move forward, how to get to the final agreement, which is peace. And we're seeing reports out of Russia. There's a business newspaper that's reporting that President Putin wants President Trump to recognize as Russian all of the land that either Russia has taken and certain areas that it even hasn't fully controlled. They want recognition for that. That wasn't discussed in the phone call yesterday between President Putin and President Trump, but that newspaper out of Russia is reporting that they're signaling that they want that. So I would assume that that's one of the things the Russian technical team will bring up in Saudi Arabia, is some of those things that maybe didn't come up on the phone call that the Russians want.
I know Putin's gonna bring that up. I know he is, because I covered this probably like 2 weeks ago now. But his spokesperson spoke for him, and he said that. He said, I want to be clear. Any territory that Russia has already captured or that it's had before the war, it's not up for grabs. Like, it's not up for negotiation. So I know that, like, Putin's not gonna go for that. If he does, I'll put it to you like this: if he does say okay, like, let's say, because President Trump did say in a press conference that there will be a discussion of like land that will be kept and land that will be lost. So the minute that he said land that will be lost, I was like, okay, so he's going to try to oblige Putin asking like for the land that he's already claimed, right? Which will probably piss Zelensky off. It probably will. If Putin agrees to a ceasefire, she just said that the White House said that they are optimistically looking forward to him agreeing to the ceasefire deal, right? So they feel optimistically positive that this is going to go well. And I would say, as long as President Trump is in office, absolutely. When he leaves, I don't know. We've seen what Putin has done over and over again. And Zelensky, I'm not saying by any means that he's innocent, not by any means. You guys can go check out some of Ben Shapiro's videos on Ukraine's history. Some of the things that Candace Owens has put out there about Zelensky. So I'm not saying by any means that he's innocent. But if Russia acts like historical Russia, it's like they'll probably say, okay, while Trump is in office, our hands are pretty locked. We can't do anything. We don't want to piss him off too much. You know, maybe he's not about World War III right this minute. But President Trump leaves. I believe Putin will spend all those years gearing up. He will spend all 3 years that President Trump is in office gearing up, making Russia stronger. And then, depending on who goes in the White House next, if he thinks that person is weak, he'll probably invade again.
Jennifer Jacobs, CBS News senior White House reporter, thank you so much. We know that President Zelensky wants security assurances. That will be one of the devil in the details there.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate your time.
That's why he wants it, because he knows.
Make trucks.
That's why Zelensky wants it, because he knows Vladimir is going to be like, I got you. He knows it already. He said it time and time again. He said this guy does not honor ceasefires. And President Trump's like, well, he's going to honor it with me because he respects me. All right, guys, so switching gears a little bit, we're going to actually finally jump over to the Democrats and see a little bit of madness going on over there. So CNN cover Jasmine Crockett reacts to CNN poll showing Democrats' favorability at an all-time low. Okay, so we know mainstream media doesn't always report the truth, so I'll be transparent with you guys. This number for the Democrats that we're going to see today is actually higher. I think it's at 29% in this video. A week ago, the Democrats' favorability was at 21%, and I believe a month ago, it was at 19%. So the all-time low for the Democrats actually has been 19%, which was about a month ago. It's actually starting to go up a little bit. I remember it lingering between 18 and 21. The number we see today with no one other than Jake Tapper and Jasmine Crockett, we will see 29%. But Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, is going to react to the Democrats' favorability poll, and let's see what Congresswoman has to say about it.
No plan, no strategy, no message. That's a quote. That's how a Democratic lawmaker is describing the Democratic Senate vote with Republicans this weekend to fund the government with a Republican funding bill, averting a government shutdown, but there was virtually no fight and nothing achieved for Democratic priorities. This comes as our brand new CNN poll this morning shows that the Democratic Party's favorability is at an all-time low in this CNN poll. It's just 29% approval. That's a 20-point drop since 2021. Joining us now is a Congresswoman from Texas, Jasmine Crockett. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you squeezing us in before you go to church. This has been a rough 72 hours for Democrats. I want to play some of what Democratic Senate Leader Schumer told me on the lead on Friday about his decision to vote with the Republicans to fund the government. Take a listen.
Oh boy, here comes Chuck Schumer.
The government shutdown gives Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Doge almost complete power as to what to close down, because they can decide what is an essential service. If they determine that SNAP, kids shouldn't get food, is not essential, they can just cut it out summarily.
Oh, stop
They could
it.
fire half the workers in the federal government. It would have been a far worse consequence.
So he's saying that the path...
Right, the path he took, yeah, it's savior basically. So I reacted to some of this yesterday on the live, and I said this. I said, I don't care for the stance that Chuck Schumer's taking on this, because he's really taking on the stance of savior, and the Democratic Party is just in not that much unison for him to even feel like he can take this stance. He's taking the stance of savior because he's saying, if a government shutdown is 10 times worse, okay, we saw that collage of video, that amalgamation of different videos where the Democrats was like, shutdown's bad, shutdown's bad, shutdown's bad, and then they all were like, we're going to vote against the bill, right? Okay, so Chuck Schumer takes the position that the reason why he voted for the bill is because he did not want to give the Republicans full control of the government. And he said if we are in shutdown, they have full control. He's like, if they feel like children don't need food, they're going to completely cut SNAP, they're going to cut Medicaid completely, right? Not even just the cuts we're seeing, like completely. He's saying, and also we don't have any control in the shutdown, like the Republicans are the one who decide when the government opens back up. And according to him, I think he was on CNN when he said this, he said that a Republican told them personally that when they shut down the government, that we'll be shut down for 8 to 9 months while they destroy the federal government. And I said to myself, that doesn't sound like the truth, Chucky. It does not sound like the truth. I just don't see a Republican going straight to his face and saying, we're going to shut down the government for 8 to 9 months until we destroy the federal government. I don't think that it went like that. I don't even think it went a little bit like that. I just think he's embellishing on his story a little bit. And the CNN news anchor said this. She called him out on it, and she said, another reason why you chose not to do it is because the Democrats were going to get blamed, right? And Chuck Schumer agreed to that. He said, yeah, the Democrats were going to get blamed. Okay, so just be honest, Chucky. That's really the reason why you did it. Because you finally realized that, oh, snap, even though I can't stand the Trump administration, they're being so transparent with some of the American people that we're going to get blamed for this. And it's like, yeah, no kidding. You're going to get blamed for the shutdown because you guys already told on yourself during the election. So there's lots of eyes on the Democrats. So if you do anything crazy, that's why you're going to keep being looked at as the party of disarray. It's just gonna happen until some unison happens. And before we finish this video, second to last clip, there are people who think, like Chuck Schumer and others, right, that, well, no, we're pretty sure the Democrats are going to take back, the government in 2028 because Trump can't run an election. Well, again, I say it often on this channel, if you do your American history, then you would know that if a party messes up bad enough, the American people will actually keep them out of government. Q, how do you know this? Well, we could just look back at 1929, right? When the stock market crash was crashing, right? Crashed, and the American people were doing horrible, right? And guess who was in office that would not help the American people, that would not make programs for the American people? W chat, anybody know this answer? You'll get a gold star. Y'all not ready for this. Y'all don't know that answer. It was a Republican. It was a Republican in the House at the time, and they were not willing to make programs to help people who had lost a lot of money. People were struggling. It was very similar to now, but worse. And it was a Republican in office. So the American people was like, bet that. Election time came, and they voted for a Democrat. And then guess what happened after that? The Democrats kept the office for 5 terms. For 5 terms, the Democrats stayed in office because the Republicans screwed them over. Just do your research. So if the Democrats think that history can't repeat itself, I just don't know. Then they're not thinking at all, because they told on themselves so much this past election that I'm like, okay, they got about 1.5 years to get it together. If we don't see a 180, there's no way they're taking back the presidency. It's not going to happen. I personally, it might take a part, like they could take something, but the president won't be a Democrat. This I know for sure, if they don't do a 180 in about 1.5 years.
The House Democrats wanted would have presented a worse consequence. Is he wrong?
He's absolutely wrong. I mean, look at the reality of the votes, right? I understand that the American people are frustrated. Please believe many of us did not sleep because we were calling and trying to impress upon the senators the importance of pushing back in this moment. And as you saw, we had all but 1 Democrat in the House that voted for this, so that's 212 Democrats in the House. And then you had the vast majority of senators vote for or vote against it as well. And so the idea that Chuck Schumer is the only one that's got a brain in the room and the only one that can think through all of the pros and cons is absolutely ridiculous. And Jake, you and I both know that this administration could care less about whether or not they violate the law. We know that we've had to rely heavily upon the courts, and I want to say, as you're talking about the polling on my party, I want to say that it is the Democratic attorney generals and some governors that are standing up against this administration and bringing those lawsuits and winning every single time. They are losing in court. Could we do a better job of making sure that the American people know that we are winning in the courts? We probably could, but at the end of the day, it's still Democrats that are winning for the American people.
Some progressive groups are calling for new leadership in the Senate for Democrats. Even House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, your leader, he was asked if he supports Schumer as leader of the Senate Democrats, and he said, next question. Do you think Senate Democrats should replace...
Bro, that's crazy. That might be in that other interview I didn't get to cover yet. Like, I covered it on the channel yesterday, but on a second live stream. Did you guys just hear that? That was crazy. Hold on.
Senate Democrats, and he said, next question. House Democratic... new leadership in the Senate for Democrats. Even House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, your leader, he was asked if he supports Schumer as leader of the Senate Democrats, and he said, next question.
See, this is like Hakeem Jeffries drives me crazy. Like Hakeem Jeffries, dude, he drives me crazy. My allergies are going nuts right now. That's because of my cat. Like, he drives me crazy. And this is one, shout out to Brandon Lehman. I like his channel a lot. He does well covering news. Like, I really like his commentary. And he calls him Walmart Obama, and I'm starting to understand why. Like, Hakeem Jeffries, he's like, dude, that guy drives me crazy. Okay, so listen. There's a such thing as unity in public, right? Not that in private you don't really get along, but unity in public is a real thing, right? And it also goes with not making your boss look bad, right? Not making your party look bad. even if he doesn't agree with everything that Chuck Schumer says, see, this is what I'm talking about with Hakeem. He couldn't just answer the question. Like, he literally just said, next question. That's the type of stuff about Hakeem Jeffries that drives me crazy. You know, he could have been like, listen, man, at the end of the day, you know, Chuck's our leader. We might not see eye to eye on everything, but he's the leader. I respect his decision. Might not like it, is what it is. He can't even say that. Like, he literally just, next question. Listen, y'all, the Democrats better not ever put up Hakeem Jeffries to run for president.
You think Senate Democrats should replace Chuck Schumer?
I think Senate Democrats have to sit down and take a look and decide whether or not Chuck Schumer is the one to lead in this moment.
You're close with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Some of your fellow House Democrats say, and not just progressives, by the way, we've heard that moderates have said this too, that they're ready to support her to challenge Chuck Schumer in a Democratic primary. Would you get behind that?
That's 4 years from now. If you were asking me at least in 2 years, then I would have an absolute answer. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment. We don't even know what elections will look like in 4 years, if we will have elections. And so I definitely think that younger, fresher leadership may be something that many of us, not just depending on what part of the spectrum you're on, but many Americans may be looking for, especially in the state of New York.
Wow. Him and AOC, huh? So at one point, I mean, they called her too far left. They're like, oh no, not. I mean, she lost in when she was going out for a ranking member's position. I know she lost to Jerry O'Connelly, and he's like 76 years old, and that sent like the younger Democrats apart of the party crazy. Like, they were literally like, these people won't give younger leadership a chance to step up. And I mean, I thought it was pretty bad that she lost to someone that was 76. But this is kind of common if you look across the Democratic Party. They got some, I mean, the Republicans do too, but the Democrats, they have some pretty, let's just say, seasoned people in the Senate. Let's just say that, right? To be respectful. Respect your elders always, right? So, yeah, they got some pretty seasoned people there. I could see, you know, what Jasmine Crockett is saying by the newer, fresher eyes. I'm like, I wouldn't say AOC is a bad choice. Her, Jasmine Crockett, and it might only be because the Democrats put someone up earlier in this year that they said was going to win back the younger people for them, but they got to change that guy, because when I saw him, I was like, dude, I would never listen to this person. So they have to change that guy. But you know, they got to go with a loud, persuasive voice, because right now they don't have much of a voice. You know, you have everybody saying, like, who's the leader of the Democrats? Who's going to step up? Like, it feels like there's only one party in America right now. And it's like, yeah, it kind of does, because they're in so much disarray. So, I mean, but what do we think about Congresswoman's answer? I'm like, is it giving shade? I don't know. I'm not going to say it is, but her and AOC are pretty cool. But, you know, she said it's 4 years from now, so I don't even know if we're gonna have elections. I think that's drastic. You know, I think that's a little leftist, like leftist. You know, but with that being said, I mean, she could have just said yes. So I don't know. I guess we'll see in the future. But if she had to choose between a Republican and AOC, I'm pretty sure she would vote for AOC.
How to take on the Republicans is a big topic of discussion among Democrats. Last week, you were one of those who participated in a Choose Your Fighter video.
Oh my God.
It got
this thing was crazy
online, including Democratic Senator John Fetterman called it bizarre and reportedly mocked it in the Senate hallway. I will say that your punching looked better than some of your colleagues. Fetterman has been criticizing your party for undignified antics and a sad cavalcade of cell phones during the president's address to Congress. What's your response to Senator Fetterman?
He's not the one to talk about anything. I mean, this is a guy that doesn't seemingly want to own a suit. I'm not really sure. But I don't show up in hoodies when I'm going on the floor. And so the idea that you would say that we could not have a moment in which an influencer asked us to do this. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you and tell you that when she asked me to jump, I said, did you ask my older colleagues to do this? Because I feel like you're picking on me because you think that my knees are a little younger. And I did not know who all was in this particular trend whatsoever. And I think that it is important that people see that we're real people. And even if that means that there's a moment to laugh, that's okay, especially since it seems like we're doing more crying than anything. But just know that we were not on the House floor jumping around at all, whereas Senator Fetterman is consistently walking around the Senate chamber, and he is walking around in such a way that they literally had to change the rules in the Senate so that he could walk around that way. So I just don't think he's necessarily the one to actually have an opinion about this.
Let me ask you about the news of this morning. President Trump seeking to use the alien enemy.
That's crazy. I can't just bypass all of that. That's crazy. So Senator John Fetterman is a Democrat from this great state of Pennsylvania. I like John Fetterman. I like him a lot. And I've said to people, keep your eye on John Fetterman. Now, he did do something like a week and a half ago where I was like, come on, John, that's sus. You can't be doing that. But it's only because if we look at the way, the Democrats pushed this last election, you can't put on the forefront of the election like transgender rights. I just don't care. Like at the end of the day, I have family members who are in the LGBTQI plus community, friends, people who I love very dearly. But you can't put that on the forefront of your campaign, right? And it was things like that they were putting on the forefront of the campaign, and I was like, dude, this is why you lost, right? So John Fetterman, I say keep your eye on him. I like him a lot. I do. I think he's good. Now listen, the Democrats are very out of touch with people. I think they need to do things like go on podcasts like regular Republicans and start sitting and talking to people so they can get more in touch with the people. Because at the end of the day, if I'm saying John Fetterman and she's saying, well, he's not the right person because he doesn't own a suit. Okay, so her shots are coming from the fact that John Fetterman, he always walks around in shorts and a hoodie. I've never seen him in anything else. I can honestly say that I haven't. Probably unless he was in uniform at one point in time. But I believe he was the AG of Pennsylvania at one point. I gotta look this up because I did this one time before, and I'm like, I don't want to tell you guys the wrong thing, but I do like John Fetterman, so I like to have my facts, the lieutenant governor, my facts straight. So at one point, he was the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania from 2019 to 2023, and I mean, I kid you not, like I've never seen him in anything else. Like, I hate to say it, but it's what Jasmine Crockett is saying is true. Now, here's what I did know. When she said that they had to change the Senate rules so he could walk around the floor like that, I didn't know that. So I think that that's pretty hilarious because, I mean, this guy's have even been at galas where his wife has on, like, a ball gown and he's in, like, shorts and a hoodie. Like, he doesn't play. He stays in shorts and a hoodie all the time. So, yeah, John Fetterman, though, he's somebody to look out for. I think he would be good for the primaries, but let's see what the Democrats do.
His Act, a wartime authority, a law signed by John Adams in 1798 to deport undocumented Venezuelans that the administration say are dangerous individuals with ties to the gang Trend Aragua. That gang is obviously associated with a lot of crime, human trafficking, drug dealing, theft, shootings, including in your state of Texas, right outside of your congressional district. Do you agree with this? And if not, what's your issue with the U.S. using any tool at its disposal to remove undocumented violent people from this country?
Well, my argument is that we already have tools that are available to remove undocumented violent people from our country. And so the idea that you want to go into a zombie law, this is kind of like what we saw in Arizona when they decided to revive a zombie law around abortion. It is the fact that we can't trust this administration to actually use a scalpel, but instead they love to use a butcher knife on things. And so giving them this wide latitude to just kind of go across and just claim that anybody is anything is wrong. And so we do have courts, we do have processes, we do have laws, and we should just go ahead and use those. There's a reason that nobody else has decided to go back into Adam's times in order to try to find ways to make sure that we can keep our country safe.
She probably thinks it's inhumane. I mean, if we think about it from a liberal standpoint, that's why she would say that back in time. But you know, as I said, laws that they don't use. You know, we have these laws like what happened during the Biden administration. What you see is President Trump is targeting gang members specifically, especially right now. So what happened in the Biden administration that these laws that we have in place, why weren't they taken into effect? I mean, he definitely brought a lot in, but we didn't see close to any go out. So what's that about, Congresswoman Crockett? I would love to know. All right, guys, so switching gears a little bit. Here we are at the last clip of the live. Every time I end my live, guys, I end with a Christian clip from Cliff Buell. Normally, I might use somebody else some other times, but most of the time I'm using Cliff. Cliff is a Christian content creator. He does live streams. He does YouTube shorts. He gets the gospel out there. So I appreciate him for this because he helps me in my live stream most nights. So shout out to you, Cliff. Today, Cliff's clip is real controversial, and most of them are. But today, he's talking about Planned Parenthood. And the title is Planned Parenthood Gets Exposed. So, we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to run it back. And I'm going to, because it's a short, I'm going to let it play all the way through. But there's something I want to read to you guys because my screen probably has it flipped to where you can't see it. It says this: our undercover investigators caught Planned Parenthood accepting donations to kill black children. Ask me if I'm surprised by this. No, I'm not surprised by this. Who loves Planned Parenthood, guys? Let's all say it together in the chat. Liberals, the Democrats.
Planned Parenthood is racist.
Good afternoon, this is Autumn.
Hello, Autumn. This is proof that Planned Parenthood is racist.
Good afternoon, this is Autumn.
Hello, Autumn. I'm interested in making a donation today.
Fantastic.
What about abortions for the underprivileged minority groups? I want to specify that abortion to help a minority group. Would that be possible? Like the black community, for example?
Certainly.
Okay. So the abortion could be, you know, I could give money specifically for a black baby that would have a purpose.
Yes, absolutely. If you wanted to designate that you wanted your gifts to be used to help an African American woman in need, then we would certainly make sure that gift was earmarked specifically for that purpose.
Great, because I really face trouble with affirmative action, and I don't want my kids being disadvantaged, you know, against black kids. I just had a baby, I want to put in his name, you know. Yeah, so that's definitely possible.
Oh, always.
And we just think, you know, the less black kids out there, the better.
Understandable.
I'm sorry, what is understandable about that?
Yo, I feel like I'm going to play this clip again. That's crazy. Yo, that clip is wild. But you know what? I feel like the caller is a prank caller, though. I feel like it's a prank caller, but the operator's real. That's literally what the call sounds like. Like, I feel like somebody made this call so they could expose Planned Parenthood on purpose. So, like, basically the person has to have a pretty, they have to have a pretty good personality to do this, right? But he probably called acting like, you know, he was literally a person, you know, that basically wants to get rid of, you know, black babies, because that's what the call is giving. Like, I could not take this call serious at all. So I'm like, dude, this guy on the other line is not serious at all. But it's giving prank. Let's listen to it again.
This is proof that Planned Parenthood is racist.
Good afternoon, this is Autumn.
Hello, Autumn. I'm interested in making a donation today.
Fantastic.
What about abortions for the underprivileged minority groups? I want to specify that abortion to help a minority group. Would that be possible? Like the black community, for example?
Certainly.
Okay. So the abortion could be, you know, I could give money specifically for a black baby that would have a purpose.
Yes, absolutely. If you wanted to designate that you wanted your gifts to be used to help an African American woman in need, then we would certainly make sure that gift was earmarked specifically for that purpose.
Great, because I really face trouble with affirmative action, and I don't want my kids being disadvantaged, you know, against black kids. I just had a baby, I want to put in his name, you know. Yeah, so that's definitely possible.
Oh, always.
And we just think, you know, the less black kids out there, the better.
Understandable.
I'm sorry, what is understandable about that?
Yo, I love you, Cliff. Shout out to Cliff. Yo, that clip is wild. Like, I feel like the person prank called the lady. He prank calls a lady and he's like, yeah, so I want to do a donation and I want to do it specifically to the black community because, you know, that would be the purpose. I struggle with affirmative action, you know, and I just had a kid and I don't want my kid to experience disadvantages against black kids. So, yeah, I wanted to make sure that this donation went specifically to kill a black baby. I'm like, dude, the caller's prank, but the operator's real. And that's crazy. Like, that's wild. The way the operator was responding. Dude, I don't care about Planned Parenthood. That's why, listen, you guys aren't gonna get me in trouble on this live today. Because I'll say the wrong thing. But Planned Parenthood being abolished, goodbye. No one cares. See you later. That thing is a sin in itself that it even exists. And everybody that worked there who does not repent, have fun on Judgment Day. So, guys, it was fun hanging out with you today. I appreciate you stopping by and chilling on the corner with me. Every single time I end my live, I will always end it with a Christian clip. If you're not a Christian, guess what? I still love you on this corner. You can just click off. But you should watch it because Jesus is dope. Like, we love Jesus on this channel. And I'm not going to stop talking about Jesus because I love Jesus and I'm not ashamed of my faith. So with that being said, any questions you guys have for me, you know, you can always go to the About tab in YouTube, get my email, hit me up. If you write me something stupid and hateful, I'm probably just going to flush it down the toilet, so don't waste your time. But if you want to write something encouraging, it's welcome. So I appreciate you guys stopping by today. I always have fun with you on the corner. We're going to hang out again tomorrow is the time, guys. Same time, 4:30 p.m. We will be back on. I appreciate you guys stopping by. What I always say, guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Love yourselves. Love one another and be peaceful. Peace.